Hello and welcome to another insightful edition of the Issues on Voice of the People TV. I am your host, Jerry Appelia, and today we're taking a closer look at the Nigerians' most pressing challenges. From economic hurdles to political struggles, we examine the factors that will determine the future of our great nation. Stay with us as we break down these complex issues and discuss the way forward. It's time to get informed and engaged because the time for clarity and action is now. And don't miss this critical conversation. All right, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never get to miss an episode of the issues. We begin with Nnnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, plans to sue anyone calling the 1966 military coup an Igbo coup. His lawyer, Barrister Aloy Ejimako, stated that only 2 of the 14 coup plotters were Igbo, and Kanu aims to protect the Igbo community from unjust labeling and judicial treatment based on his own experiences. Away from that, where the coalition of Northern Group's Women's Wing, alongside civil society organizations, is urging President Bola Tinubu's administration to halt the proposed increase in value-added tax and instead reduce it to 3%. This recommendation emerged during a town hall meeting in Kano State focused on the tax reform bill's effect on Nigerian women. And still more, where this morning a tanker overturned near Shafa filling station in Bida, Niger State, just 3 days after a deadly explosion in Suleja that killed 98 people. Residents were seen collecting spilled groundnut oil, mistakenly thinking it was fuel due to the proximity of a filling station. Reports indicate that those gathering the oil were caught in a subsequent explosion while transferring the liquid, leading to widespread destruction. Eyewitness confirmed that the tanker was actually carrying groundnut oil, not petrol. All right, after this short break, we'll dig deeper into these topics and more. Don't go away.
From the views on the street,
we go to bed empty hunger,
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lodge.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories.
Welcome back. Let's now dive straight into today's discussion. We started off by talking about Nnnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, has pledged to sue anyone who refers to the 1966 military coup led by Major Chukwuba Ziogo as an Igbo coup. This declaration was made by His Attorney Barrister Aloy Ejimako following a visit to Kanu and the Department of State Services DSS custody. Only 2 were Igbo, questioning the rationale behind labeling the coup as an Igbo coup. He emphasized that Kanu's legal team would take strong action against any such references which they consider unjust and misleading. Kanu's stance reflects his concern for the Igbo community, protect them from unfair treatment and historical misrepresentation rooted in his own experiences with the Nigerian judiciary. Joining me here in the studio today, we have Mr. Peter Anosike. Mr. Anosike is a philosopher, development economist, and best-selling author. He is also an erudite commentator on economy, finance, politics, and power. Great to have you join us.
Thank you for having me.
Right, and of course, we want to hit the conversation and, of course, hit the ground running. Given the mixed ethnic backgrounds in the coup plot, I think the Igbo coup narrative persists despite the involvement of soldiers from other ethnic regions.
Well, for me, bringing all these issues back, I don't think that it will help anybody. I don't think if it will in any way move the country forward. Emmanuel Ifajuna was the leader of the coup, so it wasn't Unzogu. So people has modeled a lot of things up. And why the Igbo coup was because most of the prominent people that died in the coup were from the north. Most of the people that died in the coup were from the north. And people are saying Unzogu coup, as I said, Emmanuel Ifajuna was the leader of the coup. But Unzogu was more unpopular than Ifajuna. Understand? So, but that coup, if you check what was happening before January 1966, because we cannot talk about Gaza without mentioning October 7, 2023. If you check what was happening in before 15th January 1966, you know that coup was anti-Igbo coup. The coup was against Igbo interest. Because if you go back and check those that were holding offices before then, you know that Igbos dominated everywhere. And the president was Nnnamdi Azikiwe. Tafawa Bandawa was the prime minister. The Senate president was Nwafo Rizu, still an Igbo man. So if you check the ministers and so on and so forth, you see that Igbos were dominating everywhere. So there's no way you can stage a coup against your own people. Because that coup was staged against the Igbos. Understand? And the beneficiaries of the coup would have been Obafemi Awolowo. Awolowo, those young boys then want Awolowo in power because they saw Awolowo's vision as more nationalistic than that of Azikiwe.
But actually, if you take a look at the way the coup happened, that was on the 15th, people are still of the opinion since Agi Ronzi was one who eventually took over, he was the commander in Lagos, and Nzogu was expecting him from the north that Ifejana would have executed Agi Ronzi, but he was surprised that no announcement was made from Lagos.
One, why Agi Ronzi took over was because the coup failed. And Agi Ronzi, being the chief of army staff then, has to naturally take over. Understand me? So him taking over, there's no dispute about that. But what Nigerians should know is that the person in charge of the armory, where all the ammunitions are, was an Igbo man, a colonel, but he refused to surrender the key of the armory to those soldiers.
Okay.
So if he is an Igbo king and an Igbo man is in charge of the armory, he will have willingly opened the armory for them that to go in and take all the ammunition that they want. But he refused to surrender the key to them, and he was shot. Understand? So, objectively, it is only those who want to give dog a bad name that will call that Coup that's an Igbo coup, or those who did not know what actually happened during that time. If you read about the five majors, then, or the account that they give, you know that that coup is never an Igbo coup.
All right, there's a threat from Nnamdi Kanu's legal team, which is aimed at challenging the Igbo coup label. Do you believe this move is rooted in protecting the Igbo community, or is it more about political positioning for IPOB?
For me, it is a mere rhetoric. Understand? It is just Nnamdi Kanu should be busy on other things. Understand? You cannot sue anybody on that. I'm an Igbo man. Understand me? But he should be more serious on other things and forget about 1966 coup. But the coup is the reason why Nigeria is where it is at this point in time. And again, why they were saying that the coup is an Igbo coup was that it failed in Enugu. It succeeded in Kaduna, where Nzogu was. Understand? Because it was Nzogu that killed the prime minister. But in Enugu, the coup failed. So northern soldiers felt a kind of betrayal. Understand me? They felt, why should the coup succeed in the north and Sadwana was killed, Tafawa and Benawa was killed, but Nnamdi Azikiwe was not killed. Okpara was not killed. But the truth is, then Okpara and Azikiwe were not even in the country. Understand? They were not even in the country. And again, that coup was against the interest of the Igbos. Understand? And when Nzogu died, what happened? Nigerian soldiers carried him to Kaduna and buried him. Do you understand that? Yeah. They buried Nzogu as a hero, gave him all full military rights. If he had conducted a coup against the North, understand me? There's no way the North that was in power then would have done such a thing.
All right. Considering the historical complexity of the 1966 coup, how might Kanu's position shape public understanding of Nigeria's political history, especially in relation to ethnic narratives? Because there've been a lot of counter talks about the coup, and which also led to the spread of the talking about the Biafra civil war, the civil war at a point in time, and since then, there's been a lot of how that 1966 coup has shaped how Nigeria has eventually become, even as we speak in 2025.
The issue is this: one, who writes history, or the victors write history, not the victims. So Nigeria won the Civil War, and they wrote a history of the way it favored them. But we know that what they wrote is not the truth. That coup was an anti-Igbo coup. Ojukwu Ojukwu, who was in Kanu at that time, understand me, was not in support of the coup. Even though some people were saying there were kind of a problem between Ojukwu and Nzogwu, and Ojukwu was telling Nzogwu, surrender, understand me? So surrender, don't go ahead with the coup. So Ojukwu was not in support of the coup. Ojukwu was a different colonel at that time. There was an Igbo man in Lagos here who was in charge of that mori and a colonel who died because he refused to give them the key of the armory. So it was, that coup changed this country because it was that coup that brought to an end of the progress that Nigeria was being made then under the regions, Eastern region, Western region, and Northern region, before they created the Midwestern region. And the progress that we made then, we have not made it since we entered this so-called democracy. Because then we had the granite and pyramid in the north, cocoa in the west, palm oil in the south, no, in the eastern Nigeria. And it was cocoa, it was cocoa, granite, and the palm oil that Azikiwe, Awonowo and Sadwana built ABU University, the University of Ife and University of Nigeria and Nsukka, established industries everywhere. Understand? So, and then Nigeria was developing both based on agricultural products, not oil. They were not borrowing one another from any part of the world, and development was going on. So it was this coup that scattered everything. Understand? And since then Agu Ironsi coming to introduce his decree 34, which is a unitary decree, also helped to, which is the best thing that he ought to have done at that point in time. That's to bring everybody together. You understand? To bring everybody together, and still he was misunderstood. So the whole thing bordered on one not being exposed there, not because Yakubu then was semi-educated. Understand me? Most of them didn't have good education. So it was that coup that made Nigeria to be where it is at this point in time. But whoever is still working with that mindset, to me, is not supposed to be alive up till now.
All right, let's look at the names of the people who were mostly popular when the coup was being talked about. In August 1965, according to Wikipedia, if you want to look it that way, there were several majors. There were a few majors who were actually attributed to planning this coup. We had the likes of Emmanuel Fejana, Timothy Onwatuegu, Chris Anuforo, Don Okafor, Humphrey Chukwuka, and Adewale Ademoyega. They all began the plotting of the coup. And of course, if you take a look at this names, we have more or less of people from the eastern region. And there were also the talk that they actually planned this coup to counter a jihad that was being planned to happen on the 17th of January. I don't know how true that is.
Well, or do you know what made Emmanuel Ifajana popular?
No.
He was the first Nigerian to win a medal in the Olympics.
Okay.
So that was what made him. Popular. Understand?
Even in the military.
No, as a very young
Nigerian.
Understand me? Or the first ever. So a jihad, I don't know what how that jihad would have been and what gave them that intel. Understand? The jihad coming, Ahmadu Bello was the premier of northern region. Then Tafawa Bandawa was the prime minister. Understand? Who is more powerful than Zik being the president. So what would have been the motive of the jihad? Is it that to sweep off that's Ahmadu Bello, Tafawa, Balewa, and so on? So I don't know that what that intel is on about.
Okay, and talking about the tensions around ethnic identities in Nigeria, how do you think the Kanu stance could impact national unity, particularly in light of the aftermath of the Civil War?
After the Civil War, Gowon came up with what he called the 3R.
Okay.
Understand me? The 3R, which he said that he will use and bring the Igbos back to the country. Understand me? So which was just that's a deep service, because it was never done. It was not implemented, and up to today, it's not implemented. Understand? It was not implemented up to today. It's not implemented because as we speak, Igbos are still marginalized. Understand? Igbos are still discriminated. Igbos are still being treated as conquered people. That's why, among all the geopolitical zones, it is only the southeast that has the 5 states. Why the other geopolitical zones has a 6. Even the northwest has a 7. Understand? And if you check the local governments, which is how resources are being shared, they understand me. Kanu and the Jigawa state, understand, has more local government than all the states in the southeast. Understand? That's Kanu has a 44 and Jigawa has 33. That's 77 local governments. Understand? That's all the 5 states in the southeast don't even have up to 50. So which means Igbos are still being treated as conquered people. Igbos are still being treated as defeated people. But I want to say that assuming that Biafra has succeeded, it will have been in the interest of the whole old Nigeria. Understand me? Assuming that Biafra independence has stood, it will have given the Western Nigeria, the Northern Nigeria competition. There will have been competition with regard to development. Because when the Yoruba see the Igbos, understand, progressing, developing, they will want to start doing the same thing. The North too. Understand? So it's because it didn't stand. That's why Nigeria is still where it is.
All right. A lot of several accounts of the story of the 1966 coup, even what led to the death of Tafawa Balewa, whether he was shot by Fejana or he was actually struck by asthma, according to another account of the whole 1966.
He is asthmatic.
Okay.
He is asthmatic. So, but if he is asthmatic.
All right. Let's go back to the next conversation. And of course, I hope Nigerians would have maybe had some bit of history lessons as the show progresses. But let's go back to the coalition of northern groups, talking about the women wing in partnership with civil society organizations is urging President Bola Tinubu's administration to stop the proposed increase in value-added tax and instead lower the current rates to 3%. This recommendation came during a town hall meeting in Kanu State, which focused on the political potential impact, of the proposed tax reform on women in Nigeria. The coalition argues that reducing VAT would alleviate financial burdens on both citizens and businesses, fostering economic growth. They stress the importance of alternative revenue generation methods to prevent further financial strain on ordinary Nigerians. Additionally, they highlighted ambiguities in the tax reform bills, particularly around terms like derivation and family wealth, which require clarification to ensure fair resource distribution. In their statement, the Women's Wing emphasized that increased taxation could adversely affect women entrepreneurs, particularly those in the informal sector, by raising the cost of essential goods and services. They called for tax policies that bolster social safety nets such as unemployment benefits and child care services, which are vital for women, especially single mothers. The coalition believes that the VAT reduction would not only provide immediate relief, but also encourage greater economic activity across the country. Mr. Nosike, the CNG Women's Wing is calling for a reduction of VAT to 3%. Do you think this would be a sustainable economic strategy, or could it lead to significant revenue shortfalls for the government?
Excuse me, when was this CNG formed?
A coalition of northern groups.
When was it formed? Because my question, why I'm asking is this: where were they in those 8 years that Buhari was in power? Where were they? So, because that is the sentiment that you have in this country. When your own person is in power on his well, you don't complain. You don't. But when power shifts to the other side, you become an activist over, understand me, night. Where have they been over the years? One, mind you, under the PDP government, VAT was 5%. It was Buhari's government that changed it to 7. Understand? Then this Tinubu government now is talking about 10. So the truth is that one, if you reduce VAT, it is going to affect the revenue of government, but it will help the masses, because why things are costly is because when you buy things, you pay VAT on it. Understand me? So those who are sending will now put that VAT there. Understand? So it is on the end users that are suffering this VAT thing. So if you reduce it, it's going to impact positively on the masses, because their purchasing power will increase on the part of government. And right now, they have the only source of their revenue is majorly the crude oil and the taxes. They are not producing. Understand me? Crude oil, taxes, and the money that they are borrowing almost every week. So telling them that they should reduce the VAT will be that's a mission impossible. They will not do it. But the governors has rejected the VAT, but okay the tax or the farm bill, which the northern group is also kicking against. But for me, I see that new tax reform bill as the only thing that the Tinubu government has done in the last 2 years of him coming into office. I say last 2 years because next month is February, which makes it 2 years his election. And you see what Donald Trump did yesterday. Before coming on board, his team is already set. And on the first day, the first minute, he hit the ground, understand me, running by signing executive bills. Yeah. That shows somebody who is prepared. It took Buhari 6 months, that's 150 days, to constitute his cabinet. But this guy, Donald Trump, started constituting the day after his election. Understand me? So that is that is it. So the issue is this: I'm in support of the tax reform bill because of the derivation. Because so that thing that they are kicking against it is the reason why I'm in support of it. Before, in this present tax reform bill, the derivation is 20%. But in the new one, it is 60%. So those who are producing should be enjoying what they are producing. And not they will be producing, others will be enjoying it. It is injustice. So that's why I'm fully in support of the tax reform bill. That it should be passed. And if it is passed, it is going to make governors to start working hard. It's going to make them to start being creative. It now means that if you produce, you will enjoy.
What about the increase in VAT? They've also complained that if the value-added tax is increased from the percentage it is to a greater number.
No, the governors have unanimously said no. Understand? So I know that what they did was a deal. Okay, Mr. President, we will reject increment in VAT, but we will pass the tax. We will accept the tax reform bill. You gain one and you lose one. So I'm not seeing them increasing the tax. That is the VAT. And mind you, 2027 remains just 2 years away.
All right. You think the president will want to not take the coalition of Northern Group not seriously, and most especially the women, when it comes to them airing their point of view as against the tax reforms?
Well, everywhere in the North, women vote more than the men. Understand? So I feel that he should take them serious. He should take them real serious.
Should take them really serious. And of course, finally, we'll talk about a tanker that's overturned near Shafa filling station in Bida, Niger State, just 3 days after a tragic explosion in Diko Baja Road in Suleja, Wake. Eyewitness clarified that the tanker was carrying groundnut oil, not petrol, and attributed the initial confusion to its proximity to a filling station. This incident highlights a troubling trend in Nigeria where many have lost their lives while attempting to collect fuel from overturned tankers. And recall that there previously documented similar tragedies, including a tanker explosion in Jigawa State in October 2024 that resulted in 105 fatalities and 70 injuries. This tanker explosion in Niger State follows a tragic pattern of fatalities from similar incidents. Why do you think these disasters continue to occur despite previous warnings and media coverage?
Well, for me, that shows you the level of hunger in the country. Nigerians have had their brains torn. They are no longer even afraid of dangers. If not, imagine what happened just 3 days ago. Pe- people are no more afraid. The same thing happened, and they are still willing to go and do the same thing. So, because one, fuel is no more affordable in the country. We had that fuel is now selling at 970 here. Understand me? If you're selling at 970 here, it will not be less than 1,000 in the north because of transportation. And when others see it fall, so they will now instead of using or their widow's mite that to go and buy, let them get it free, not minding the risk. So even the Jigawa own is supposed to be fresh in the mind of the people. Understand me? Jigawa own is supposed to be fresh in the mind of the people. But this shows you that that's a man that is down don't have to fear falling again. So Nigerians are already down, so they're no more afraid of falling. So they are no more afraid of dying, because there's no much difference now between a living man and a dead man in the country, because nothing is affordable anymore in the country. So to them, it's either I die or I survive, and there's no much difference.
All right, talking about the role of filling stations and local authorities in preventing this type of disasters. The four tankers, as we see the drivers, the way they drive recklessly on the road.
But mind you, this has nothing to do with the filling stations. These tankers are falling on the road and not inside the filling stations. The explosions are not occurring in the filling station. So this could be one, maybe due to bad road.
Okay.
I've not passed that Sundeja Bida road. That's for some time. So I don't know the state of the road
at the moment.
So it could be bad road or the carelessness that's of the drivers. But our National Orientation Agency should have been out sensitizing all the masses on the dangers of scooping fuel. They should have been on the road everywhere in the social on the social media or television, understand, even running jingles on radios nationwide on the danger of scooping fuel, so that this thing will continue that to be fresh in the mind of the people. With what happened now, tomorrow, if another tanker fall, they will still go there that to scoop.
Well, taking a look at a lot of these incidents, in December we saw stampede, people rushing to get food, people dying, and now people are still scooping fuel in spite of all several historic incidents where people have died in doing that. Is it not a wake-up call for our leaders, if we are a country that is serious, for to deal with poverty that's extreme?
It is a wake-up call. Mind you, hunger. There's hunger affects people's senses. A hungry man does not think well. Understand me? So if we have a government that through the case, they ought to have find a way of at least helping this situation. And for me, since they cannot reduce this insecurity, they can reduce import duties. they can reduce import duties so that people will be importing food items at a very cheap rate. Understand? Government can also be importing food. I remember under Buhari as a military head of state. Understand? Government was people were getting essential commodities at a cheaper rate. So Tinubu government can also embark on it. But the best thing for him to do now is to reduce crash import duties so that food items will be coming at a cheaper rate in the country.
Is there any political will to end poverty, extreme poverty in Nigeria?
Well, the political will may be there, but the capacity may not be there.
On the part of the government?
On the part of the government. Because for me, I don't think that any government who want to deliberately punish their people. I don't think that any government would deliberately want to inflict hardship on the people. And the problem could be the political will is there, but the capacity may not be there. You cannot give what you don't have.
All right, so that's much we can take on the show this evening. I want to say big thanks, Mr. Nosike, for being awesome on the show this evening.
Thank you for having me.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Issues and Voice of the People TV. Thank you for joining us. If you found value in today's discussion, hit that like button, share this episode, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Of course, we're always looking forward to hear your perspective. Make sure you're subscribed and have your notification bell turned on so you never get to miss an episode of the Issues. My name is Jerry Arpelion. Have a good one.